Top Planet for June 14th, 2022. For those of you who are watching us on video, you see I dressed up for you. If you are not watching us on video and you're listening to us on our podcast, just know that I am dressed in my fandom as a Chicago Bears fan because that's what I am. I am a lifelong Chicago Bears fan. Incidentally, I get this question all the time, Neil, why? Why the Chicago Bears? Well, I was born in Chicago. I was born in Lake Charles. But that's really not it. I'm sorry, not Lake Charles, St. Charles. See, that kind of tells you what my ties are. So I was born in St. Charles, Illinois. My parents didn't live there for very long, but really, one of the biggest reasons I'm a Chicago Bears fan is because I was 10 years old when the 1985 Bears were a thing. And man, that team was awesome, fun to watch. And I was like, how does this team with probably one of the greatest defenses, if not the greatest defense of all time, not win so many Super Bowls? And it didn't happen. So the Bears have been my team, and I've been a fan of the Chicago Bears. I am not a fan of this most recent bear, which has entered the news, which is the bear market. So you see my tie in there. You see what I did there. The Chicago Bears have won one Super Bowl during my lifetime. Bear markets a little more common, and that's what we're going to talk about today. You're going to hear this in the news a lot, and I'm going to share my screen in a second. But this bear market thing, how often is that happening? What does that really mean? So if you bear with me a second, okay, I'll stop at some point, I promise. But if you bear with me a second, I will actually show you what I mean by that too. So we hear these terms a lot interchangeably, but when you have a market dip of less than 5%, that's exactly what it's called. It's called a dip. When the market drops between 5 to 10%, that is a pullback. And again, you don't always hear these terms used correctly with the media. I'm going to talk about the media in a second right now, but this 5 to 10% is a pullback. The correction is 10% or more. And then finally, what happened yesterday, you're talking about a bear market, which is a 20% or more drop. So the S&P 500 entered bear market territory. You're going to hear that a lot. So yes, this is not cool. And then stock market crash is basically a sudden and significant decline. It's a little less scientific, not really a percentage assigned to it in most cases. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about a decline in markets. But, a crash in markets. But how often does this happen? So when we talk about a dip, when we talk about the 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, it happens way more often than the Chicago Bears win the Super Bowl for sure, but definitely probably even more often than they actually make the playoffs during my lifetime. So declines are a normal part of this investment cycle. If we look back from 1949, and again, if you're looking at the screen, you're seeing this right now. Since 1949, there is a 5% or more dip at least 3 times a year. We don't always think about it. We don't always feel it because it's 5%. That 10% on average happens about once a year. So it's healthy. This 15% or more, again, this is not fun. This is not exciting, but that 15% or more dip does happen on average every 3.5 years. And what we're going through right now with the S&P 500, this 20% or more dip, this bear market territory, that happens on average once every 6 years, which is great news for us Chicago Bears fans because, hey, and maybe it's tying into a good period of time. Now, there is a temptation, now that you know what this is, there's a temptation, well, what do we do about this, Neil? Well, the temptation is, hey, let me just take my money out of the market. Don't do that. You shouldn't do that. Why? Well, I shouldn't say that. That's generally speaking, you should not do that because your investments should be part of an overall plan. If I say something happens on average every 6 years, does that mean it's going to happen every 6 years? No. If my average body temperature is 100 degrees and I have one hand in the freezer and one hand on the stove, that's not necessarily healthy, right? So that's what an average basically means. It's on average. It could happen twice in 2 consecutive years, and then for the next 10 years, you're fine. That still means on average, we had a 20% or more dip. You need to make sure that your investments are still consistent with your long-term plans. Do you have a long investment horizon? If so, you take more risk. But there's a temptation to basically stick my money under the mattress and take no risk. And then you look into things like bank accounts and you look at CDs and you look at money markets. And have you seen what the banks are offering? That safety comes with a cost. So this is not updated. This is back from April 3rd, but you'll see here, I'm looking at a 12-month CD, which is probably one of the prettiest things on this list from, and rates have gone up a little bit, admittedly, not that much, But basically, 4 months ago or 3 months ago, you would have seen a 12-month CD giving you 0.2% as opposed to in Barron's. So that's not going to cut it for you because the cost of all your stuff, gas, milk, eggs, Chicago Bears t-shirts is all going up by way more than 0.2%. In fact, inflation is probably, I don't know, somewhere between 4, 5, 6% right now. The goal is to get it back to 2.5%. That's government policy. So we'll see what goes on there. But why are we even talking about this? Because there is a lot of news out there right now as I record this, or as we go over this right now. We're talking about things like Russia. Obviously, that's still a thing. We're talking about monkeypox. COVID is still a thing. There's legislation with. So why is the news sharing all this with us? Is the news sharing all this with us because they want to educate us? No. The news owes a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. The media owes a responsibility to make money for the people who own shares in their companies. And Steve Forbes is one of my favorite quotes. You guys have heard me say this before. You make more money selling advice than you do following it. It's one of those things we count on in the magazine business, along with the short-term memory of our readers. If your investments are not in line with your financial plan, speak with somebody. If you're not sure, if you don't have a plan, speak with somebody. I might know a guy. If you want to give us a call, you're welcome to give us a call. But you need to make sure that your investments are consistent with your plan, and then realize this is part of the investment process. It's not comfortable. I totally get it. It's not comfortable. I'm joking around about being a Chicago Bears fan, but that's not comfortable most times either. But yeah, it's not comfortable, but it's not unfamiliar. This is part of the investment process. This is part of what happens with the investment world. But if you're taking an inordinate amount of risk and you're basically seeing that that this volatility is impacting your financial life and, quite frankly, your peace of mind too, because that's important, then obviously speak with somebody, figure out whether you need to take the level of risk that you're taking, find out where your investments should be if they're not already where they need to be. And I will also say, from a tips perspective, is if you are exactly where you need to be, start looking at things like opportunities, Roth conversions, maybe some sort of contributions, maybe some rebalancing. In any market like this, there's also opportunities that should be discussed, even if they're not implemented. Again, if you need some help with this, I happen to know somebody, give us a call. We can figure out if there's something that we can do for you, or maybe get you in the hands of somebody who might be able to help you. But most importantly, just make sure that that your peace of mind is there. You're sleeping all right. Again, I know it's not comfortable. Wherever I find this message finds you, or this video finds you, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying well, and I hope you're ready to enjoy the rest of the summer. I can tell you, I've got a daughter's graduation coming up, and just looking forward to a fun summer. And I hope you have something to look forward to this summer as well too. All right, be well, and pray for my Chicago Bears. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Shop Planet. If you haven't liked or subscribed or commented or given us a review or any of that sort of stuff, please do so, because I hope to keep continuing to do this. All right. Be well, be safe. Talk to you next time. Bye now.